that I'll talk a little bit about me and that is my story. That was my portal into practice and all that I'll be sharing with you today. So I would love just warmly inviting you here. I'm Lisa Crane. I will spend some time kind of giving us an overview, but first let's settle. So warmly inviting you just with a quality of welcome. Go ahead and just find this will only be about 10 minutes or so just to settle. We'll be settling into just a little bit of mindful embodied presence, and I'll be talking throughout the day about how this really provides a refuge, a really beautiful antidote for anxiety, really breaking its spell. So perhaps eyes closed, but you don't have to close your eyes. You can allow your eyes to be open with a soft gaze. Yeah. And the invitation really as we start is just to feel yourself here. We're going to be really experiencing the shift from thinking into feeling, and just try that on. The body is always here. And I invite you in just the most natural and simple way to let the body lead a bit and to just allow a very simple anchor in the present moment in the body to bring you into a bit of more embodied presence. The breath flowing through the body, already here. You do not have to work at this. Yeah, take a few deep cleansing breaths just to, you can let it be audible sigh. There's something about that that really, I'll be talking about this, that supports the parasympathetic nervous system that really does shift the, yeah. And as you do that, as you breathe and exhale, notice how it feels in the body and the mind, as well as the heart. And then just allow the awareness to rest in the something palpable and simple, the weight of the body meeting the floor and the earth, completely held. Feel held. We're going to be opening up to much bigger forces and elements of our experience that hold and support our being. So feel held just for now. I will say, and I'll be talking about it tonight, as you land and rest just for these first 10 minutes, I'll let you just have a little bit of silence with this. For those of you who are new to practice, the mind may be very active in contrast to the stillness of the body, to the room, here, perhaps where you are online. And let the mind do what it's going to do. Just give it a nice, for the next 5 minutes, give it a nice day to go play. Just let it go. There's no goal to empty or stop the mind at all. And then see what it's like to untangle the awareness from any activity, mental activity. That's a liberation experience. And just naturally choose in this present moment, this breath in this moment, the weight of the body connected to the earth in this moment. The sound of stillness, relative stillness. Hear this stillness with every cell of your body and just rest in that experience. Just for now. And I'll just say for this last minute, just see what it's like to choose the here and now, wherever you feel it, and rest in that experience. So as we come to the end of just this settling and this arriving, right? Giving us time to arrive, to feel ourselves here. Bless you. Love to read a poem by Wendell Berry. It's called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in its beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of still water. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. And I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. And for a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. Welcome. So come on in, anybody who came late, come on in, make yourself comfortable. Yeah, welcome. Mm. So I'd like to just kind of take a moment just to set the container and create a really wholesome, welcoming environment for us all being here together. We'll be here till 4 p.m. online and in person together. And so I just wanted to say a few words just to create a space where everyone feels as welcome as possible for the time we're together. And I'll say that by offering just some qualities that perhaps we can all agree to just consciously together and kind of abide by these agreements today throughout our time together. This really does allow the nervous system, our hearts to feel more comfortable to really be present, right? We do need safe containers, experiences where we really do feel that we can have some semblance of some basic wholesome trust together. So let's all see if you all agree with me that during the time that we're all here together, we agree that we're just going to kind of let go of any fixing. How does that sound? Maybe there's nothing wrong with you at all. You laugh, right? And that's really what we'll be moving into. Also, we will be kind of breaking into small groups at times and sharing a bit. So will you all agree that we're not going to be giving each other any advice? Does that sound really good? Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? Right? And also, we want to let go both internally and externally. How does it feel to just kind of drop and let fall away any judgment, any judging? Does that sound wholesome as well? Let's just take a time out from that today. Oh, what would that feel like in your body and with each other? So no judging. Does everyone agree to that? Do I hear a yes? Uh, how about no comparing? Oh, that's, a lot of territory for suffering. What if we let that fall away, right, during the time that we're here together? Does that sound good, everyone? Yeah. And I want to also welcome all the diversity here in this room. There's There's so much diversity here that we can see and not see. And I'll just name some of these things just to really bring a quality of welcome. All ages, all abilities, all races, all ethnicities, all religions, all body sizes, all genders, all sexual orientations, all levels of education, right? All levels of class. Anything I've left out, making space for that right now. All welcome here. Towards the end, we will be moving into kind of a little bit of an exploration about welcoming different parts of our being into consciousness as part of healing anxiety. I'll talk about this. So, what I'd like to do just to take a minute, just to warm up the room, we're not going to go around and have everyone share their names. It would take too long. But just to in the vicinity of where you are, those in the room, just turn to everyone around you and introduce yourself. Say hi. Those of you online, just put in the chat hello. So go ahead, just turn to the people around you and say hi. You okay over there? You good? Okay. You want to move over, you can. So I hope that feels really nice. Yeah. In my experience, the people that are attracted to these kinds of things at Inside LA, these you guys are all good peeps, you know? So, yeah. Lovely. So we could just hang out, right? It feels really nice to do that. And we will be doing that today. Um, So you're in good company. I hope that really helped you warm up and once again land a little bit more fully into this experience today. I'll say a little bit about myself for those of you who don't know me. So I'm Lisa Kring. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a therapist of many years. Um, I am a longtime practitioner of Vipassana Buddhism, over 20 years, and longtime teacher with Inside LA. I teach many courses, mindfulness, stress mindfulness-based stress reduction. I was so lucky to study and train with John Kabat-Zinn way back in the day, you know, when he was still teaching and training and teacher of mindful self-compassion, all kinds of things, right? But I have to say, really dear to my heart, I taught this last year, this real focus on anxiety. It kind of blends together all of the different elements of my practice and my experience, clinical experience. What's so wonderful about this, and you'll see the flavor of today, is that the Buddha was really onto something. And so I'm going to be blending, you know, current neuroscience and kind of cutting edge psychology and Buddhist practice and mindfulness into this, kind of stirring this up into a nice, um, you know, mix, I guess you could say. And it really holds together really nice, I think. I hope you agree with me. I did want to say also that in my own experience, and I'll be very transparent throughout this day, is that what brought me to meditation was a chronic anxiety that I had my whole life. So I do know the terrain, everybody. I really know this deeply. And that I personally, I won't say too much about this, but I just at an early age, I'm not sure why, I had this really acute anxiety about death and impermanence. I couldn't seem, I just intimately felt that nothing lasts, and it just caused me so much low grade constant anxiety. And I would say I kind of white knuckled it and limped along throughout my life, kind of focused on achievement. I became very much a doer. Is anyone kind of perfectionistic a little bit, trying to make just constantly kind of keep the train moving of my life, you know? And I think it reached a kind of a crisis when I was married. I had two young children, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I found myself, and it was a crisis because the more I had in my life, the more there was that I could lose. And I think becoming a mother became a real crisis for me. I became, anybody here a parent? Oh, deep bow. I couldn't handle it. is too much for me. And I was so lucky to find this practice. I was so lucky to find it as a therapist with Dan Siegel at UCLA. And then the rest, I took it to like a duck to water. And I must say, it has really, everything I'm going to be offering with you today is part of my own practice and part of my own healing. And so I hope it's a nice recipe for you. And I do want to tell you with all happiness that while of course anxiety is just a part of the human condition, of course it still bubbles up in my experience, but these tools really work for me and that I really do not suffer from that anymore at all. And I can't tell you how happy I am to tell you that, and that if you do practice these things, if you do take them to heart, they will work for you. They really will. So I will say that with all authority, even more than medication, I would say, and the research does support this. With that, I want to give you a little bit of the overview of the day. Now, some of you who are used to kind of meditation practice, this is more of a workshop today than a retreat day. Do you know what I mean by that, everyone? We will be moving in and out of some practices together, experiential practices, so that you can start to feel into what I will be illustrating for you. But for the most part, this is more of a workshop in its flavor. For the first part of the course, what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of a psychoeducation. You can take notes. Please know that I will be offering you all an email, a review of this workshop with the main points. So I will be covering all of this because I will say I was preparing for this yesterday. I was like, this is a lot of material, it's rich. So just know that I'll be giving you that as a review with links and things so that you can continue to kind of, kind of wrap your being around what I'm going to share with you. And so I'll be starting with a kind of working definition of anxiety. I'll be moving into the neuroscience, the neurological underpinnings of anxiety. I find for me, it really helped me to understand what the hell was going on in my body and my brain when I just didn't understand what was going on. I just felt like my whole being was hijacked by the experience. And I literally felt like I had no ground on which to stand. Do you guys know what I mean by that? And so it helped me in my experience as a therapist and also as a teacher. I've noticed that it really helps people get the cognitive buy-in. Sometimes I think it's really good to have the education. I think they should give this to children very young about how their brains and bodies works and how neurologically we're all very vulnerable to anxiety. And I'm going to talk about this. Naturally, all of us are. And then I'm going to talk about the biological underpinnings of that as well, and how all this mixes in a perfect storm experience in the present moment often, and that we get very anxious and have panic attacks and all these things, right? So I want to give you that foundation. And then we'll be moving really into essentials of mindfulness. I'll be kind of unpacking this a little bit. How many of you do know about mindfulness and do practice and have some understanding? Some of you do, right? So this will not be foreign to you, but I'm going to really anchor it into really specific practices and ways of practicing that are very particular for how we can break the spell for anxiety. So I'll be doing that, and we'll be really moving into different aspects of experiential practices, cultivating mindfulness. I'll be offering practices that help establish equanimity. I'll be talking about that. Does anyone practice your equanimity? How this really can help. There's a wisdom element to breaking the spell of anxiety. I'll be going into that. And then I'll be offering a practice. Maybe some of you know anxiety is an emotion, the RAIN practice. And then towards the end of our day, I will be moving more into kind of a psychodynamic somatic practice called feeding the demon. Has anyone ever practiced that? It comes from Tibetan Buddhism. And I blended it in with mindful self-compassion. There's a practice in which we really turn towards the anxiety as perhaps an element within our psyche, within our consciousness. It really has a deeper function. It's working very hard for us, and that we energetically start to move and work with it. I find then until we start working with these deeper levels of consciousness, which meditation allows us to access, we can't really heal the deeper pattern, if you know what I mean, everyone. So we'll try this on. We'll get the flavor of that after we lay this foundation today. So with that, what I'd like to do is just move into talk about the neurological underpinnings, if that's okay. And we will take a break. We will have a mindful snack. Hopefully, with weather permitting, we're going to go outside and use going outside and walking and sense and savor walk as an element of mindfulness. Hopefully, you can bring your umbrellas out there. We'll see. So we'll see. But okay, so sit back. I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of an overview. And there's something about education, I think, that is important with managing anxiety. They do find in research that, and maybe those of you will probably, it's kind of a compliment to you all here, that high levels of anxiety tend to correlate with high levels of IQ. and, having a high IQ, having it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of considered a handicap in some ways, right? And so I think it really helps feed the mind a little bit with education and wisdom and information, then helps it let go. So hopefully that's the case for you. So the neurological underpinnings of anxiety. So what I'd like to do is that we're all quite naturally vulnerable, susceptible to anxiety, neurologically speaking. All of us are. And the reason is because our minds naturally operate according to what is called the default mode network. Who has heard of this? Anybody heard of this? So the default mode network, and this is a recent neurological discovery in the mid 80s, it's that our minds, when we're not focused on anything, it's our natural default mode. They thought that when we weren't thinking about something or focused on anything, when you're just kind of doing, you're just letting your mind do what it's going to do. They thought that it would go dark. That was always the understanding. But what they found with these kinds of brain scans is that the mind actually is very lit up. There's a lot of activity when you're just letting the mind roll. Isn't that interesting, right? So what is this activity? What is the default mode network about? And there are three main functions of the default mode network. First function is to be focused on the past. Now, I'll talk about this. It's mostly focused on what happened that was wrong or bad in the past. Does this resonate with you? It's not focusing on what was great. I mean, sometimes it does. But that's not and I'll talk about what the deeper function is of this neurological, hardwired default mode in all of us. So about the past, it's ruminating. Do you feel me on that? It is also focused primarily on the future. What is going to be, right? Typically, possibly a threat. Am I right? Yes. So future, past. And the third component, this is very important, is that it's focused on constantly creating the autobiographical self. It is all about the story of me. Okay, so it's these three functions. Now, how do these work together? This is an adaptive, neurologically adaptation over time. And it operates in this way to ensure our survival. It was handed down through generations. It's hardwired. The people that, didn't worry about the future and the past and weren't so self-focused, they didn't survive, actually. And so it is a good thing. It's not entirely bad, right? So it is really, we're hardwired for survival this way. So let me unpack this a little bit deeper. So from a neurological or neuroscience point of view, we often call default mode network activity, it's referred to as mind wandering. Has anyone heard that term? So mind wandering, and I like the clinical definition, it's mental patterns that outlive their present moment utility. Does that land for you all? You guys know? Yeah. Mental patterns. These are patterns. I just want to say they're not reality. Okay. Mental patterns that outlive their present moment utility. And maybe that kind of drives home for you. The mind wandering is all about ruminating in the past in order to prevent it from happening again, right? And it's also about preoccupied with forecasting into the future that might anticipate potential threats. So it has the energy of scanning the horizon for what could go wrong, right? Does your mind tend to do this, everybody? It's forecasting constantly out of the present moment. So what I want to ask you is the default mode network, what is it not about? It's not about the present moment at all. So it's a kind of a virtual loop in the mind, everybody. So just let that rest. It's not reality, but it is operating in some way that it's trying to ensure that we're okay. So it's basically self-focused projections into the past and future for self survival. Okay? So we're wired to be this way. Okay? And while it keeps us on our toes, but the research shows that mind wandering that is never that has no reality testing, is no longer anchored to some degree in the present moment, right? What happens is that we become depressed and anxious and sick compared to when we're more mindful. So there's a big Harvard study. It was called A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind. Would you agree that these tendencies of the default mode tend to be an upward spiral or a downward spiral? Do you tend to think that they're a bit of a downer, everybody? Because they're all about fear and worry, and right, it's all about that. It keeps us on our toes. But a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So, and this is really the crux of what we'll be talking about today. When mind wandering, and this is really the default mode network, is basically what is hardwiring us for all of our mental health problems, for the most part. And that is that when mind wandering tends to be more chronically about rumination and it's unchecked and it becomes dysregulated, it tends to move into more chronic stages or kinds of depression. Does this make sense, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Depression really is fed by ruminations and past ruminations. It becomes your world. Okay. And okay, this is why we're here today. When it's more focused on future threats and it becomes chronic in that way, and we get really, really caught and addicted in those loops, what then does it translate into everybody? That's right. So maybe it's liberating. Oh, did you have a question? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's such a great question. So daydreaming has a lot of, oh, yes. Oh, yes. So good question. What is the difference between mind wandering, which really has no good mental health purpose in some ways, and daydreaming, right? Or fun daydreaming, yeah. Daydreaming, and remember, the definition is mental patterns that outlive their present moment utility. So daydreaming has a different function neurologically speaking. It is not mind wandering, and it is a lovely thing. It can bring on a lot of creativity. So it is not the same. It is not necessarily default mode network activity at all because it's really kind of cool, right? It's creative. So I won't get into the neuroscience of daydreaming and all of this, but it's operating in a different part of the brain. And you'll feel the difference. It doesn't make you sick, right? So yeah, it's good to differentiate between these things. And I'm giving you kind of a basic thing. There's a lot of nuance in all of this, but this is just a basic roadmap for you all. to start. Listen, you will, as you become more present, as you bring more awareness to your direct experience, which is what we're going to be doing with anxiety today, you will feel the difference. And you will be able to wake up in that moment and say, oh my gosh, this is the default mode right now, right? And just being able to note it, to note that, and to acknowledge, ooh, the sun's out, to acknowledge that breaks the spell. Do you hear? This is the beginning of that, where you start to understand what's happening in your mind and brain and that it's not reality. You start to get out of those loops. You can break out of them. Yes. So just that's just a little bit of the beginning of that. Now, I will also say that the default mode network, the mind wandering, it does feel like a downward spiral. And it's because it's driven by what is called the negativity bias. Has anyone heard of this also? So I'm just giving you these templates so you can, I want to break the spell for you. The negativity bias, it's the tendency to focus on what's wrong to the exclusion of all else. Does this also resonate for all of you? We are wired to worry. The mind loves bad news. Do you agree with me? Somebody gives you a compliment, it's like Velcro. It's like Teflon. Somebody gives you a criticism, doesn't it stick? It sticks like you can't believe, and then you're off to the races, right? So this is the way we're all hardwired. And why is it? Because it has kept us alive. It is a survival mechanism. So it's not bad. But what we need to do is we need to hold it in awareness. We need to broaden our gears in terms of our gears of how we operate in the world. I think in some ways when we're chronically anxious, we're locked in that gear of the default mode network and we can't downshift into the present moment. Do you guys know what I mean by that? So what we're doing is we're actually opening up all the gears of your being and you're learning how to downshift into present moment focus. And this really breaks the spell. And I'm going to talk a lot about this, much more, of course. The truth is that in the present moment, when we're able to kind of drop out of the ruminative or the anticipatory mental patterns and drop down into our present moment experience through awareness training, we notice have you ever had that experience where you kind of drop into the present moment a little bit and it does feel like you're waking up from a trance? Has anyone had that? It is like that. You kind of, and you go, wait a minute, it's not all bad right now. What happens is we start to get reality check and it balances the neurological, biological aspects of our experience. And we start to say, oh my goodness, it's not all bad right now. Actually, it's really nice. Look, the sun just came out. This kind of thing. And we get oriented and grounded. And we realize that the default mode network is not reality. And in fact, the default mode network is often lying to us. I saw someone walking around. I saw someone with a t-shirt. Has anyone seen this? I saw it last week. Your anxiety is lying to you. Has anyone seen that? It is lying to you. It may have some truth to it. We need to pay attention to threats, but typically it's lying to you. I love this quote by Mark Twain. He says, my life is full of terrible misfortunes, all of which have never happened. Does this make sense for you? Does the content of your default mode network activity, doesn't it tend to kind of not be true? Not to say there aren't threats. We all know there are threats. Okay, so through mindfulness training, the default mode network, here's the good news, and I'm evidence of it. through training like this, what's great about neuroplasticity and why mindfulness is on the cover of Time magazine, et cetera, is that through mindfulness training and neuroplasticity, this is not cast in stone. The default mode network can shift into more present moment focus. Isn't that amazing? John Kabat-Zinn, I'll never forget him. When I was training with him, he said, this is probably the most important evolutionary tool that we could have right now is mindfulness because it changes the shape and the structures of the brain. And it really moves the brain into the 21st century, because I personally think to survive, we need to be more present, right? So that's exciting to know that when you practice, every time you come back into the present moment, it rewires the brain, it shifts the patterns, and it creates the new patterns out of which you start to feel and live. So it's not easy. I don't want to make this easy, but it is the first laying this foundation helps us understand the terrain of which our practice, what this is really about. And the default mode network, the negativity bias, it can take over in normative times, but these are times of increased uncertainty. I'll just say that, right? I just want to acknowledge it is crazy times right now. Social media, all of that. So we really do have to find places to practice together and to learn this. So I want to shift now from the neurological underpinnings and blend it now into the biological underpinnings of anxiety. It helps explain why it gets so hard when we get caught in anxiety to find ways to break the spell. So we need to also understand not only what's happening in our brain, but also our nervous system. The default mode network and the nervous system are deeply interconnected. And anxiety, it's an emotion of fear and dread. And of course, it's at the root of it's our need for survival. But ironically, when it takes over, especially when it snowballs into a panic attack, doesn't it feel like you're going to die? Isn't it? You really do. So, what's happening in the body? And I'll just ask you, when you guys feel anxious, when this starts to snowball in any way, what do you feel in your body? Does anyone want to say? Shortness, and it'll all be the same. Shortness of breath. What else? Yeah, I had a lot of stomach problems. Does anyone, you lose blood flow? It's just like do you notice a lot of things happening in your body when you're anxious, right? The heart, constriction. This is really what's happening when the default mode takes over and it says, ooh, there could be a threat. And then the body just immediately, the autonomic nervous system just spontaneously believes it to be true. The mind-body connection is so strong that the body will just move into an experience that whatever your mind is worried about, the body starts to think it's real. Does this make sense, everybody? And you move into what's called fight, flee, freeze, or fawn reactivity. People know about this, a lot about this now, stress reactivity. And this strongly affects the body and the brain. It mobilizes the body to either run or fight for your life or freeze. So what happens is all the blood flow starts pumping out into the extremities, cortisol and adrenaline starts flowing into the body. Where does the blood flow not go? It doesn't go to the brain. So here's the thing. That's why you feel like your heart is going to break out of your chest, because the body's trying to prime you to run. And then there's nowhere to go. Isn't it crazy? And all this stuff is happening and you don't even know why. Or fight, run or fight or freeze. You just, all this starts firing in the body. And what happens in the brain, this is very important that I want to say, is that the brain stem is the only thing that's really active when we're in this kind of stress reactivity. So we lose contact with the prefrontal cortex, which is really considered our best self. It's the part that can really reason. It's the part that can see the situation from more perspective. It's the part that can access compassion and kindness and love and good judgment. So when you're stressed and when you're anxious, doesn't it feel like you're operating from the very limited brain? Isn't it hard to think clearly? You can't think straight. You start to feel tunnel vision. Does anyone notice that? You start to it starts to do this. And that's because it's really priming you to run and fight and do all these things. So you can't think clearly. So that's why this is really hard. It takes over completely, doesn't it? And I hope this is helping you, kind of giving you agency to go, oh, maybe some part of you, the awareness training as it's happening, because it will happen again. How to bring awareness to it as it's happening to go, oh, okay, there's some part that can go, oh, and not let it run the show, right? Not let it run the show. So the body believes it's life or death, even though it's not in reality. Okay? So mindfulness, what's really amazing is that mindfulness is one of the only things, because what is mindfulness all about, everybody? The present moment. Now, this sounds so simple, but we miss the present moment all the time. It's always here and we're not present with it. So this is our portal. This is our refuge. This is our way. Mindfulness is the only thing from a neurological point of view that could deactivate the default mode network. This is real. It's the only thing. The only other thing that can do it is psychedelics. Mindfulness, and these are the only things that start to stop this habitual conditioned mental rumination and anticipatory mental patterns. And mindfulness, when we're able to choose to return to the present moment, when we start to land into anchors of our body, of what's real, of the moment, what happens is it naturally brings on the parasympathetic nervous system and it regulates the body. The whole stress reactivity goes down. You start to breathe easy. And here's the good part, you move back into full brain function. You return to your best self. Have you ever been really stressed and then you calm down, you kind of drop back into who you are? So mindfulness is agency, it's choice. It brings you back into that in the present moment. And the beautiful thing is the present moment is always here. Isn't that good to know? It's always here for you. You just have to have some tools to return to it. And that's a little bit about what we're going to be doing. So, okay, what's our time? Okay, good. Anxiety can also be a little bit hard to manage because part of the human condition is that there's always stressors in our environment. There's external stressors like traffic or weather or job or personal, well, we could go on and on about what the external stressors are, right? And there's also internal stressors, though. These are, who has an inner critic here? Anybody? That inner voice that kind of, and also anxiety becomes, because it's an emotion, it can often become an internal stressor. Now, we don't realize what's happening. And then what's so ironic about anxiety is that it's wired, it's designed. It has a deeper function to keep you safe and to keep you alive. But when the emotion becomes a stressor, then suddenly anxiety becomes life-threatening. The experience of anxiety itself becomes the threat. Do you know what I mean by that, everybody? It's why you're all here, right? And so, and I will say I'm going to be somewhat trauma sensitive. We're not going to focus on this entirely, but when you add elements of trauma into the mix, stressors can really be confusing. There'll be stressors in your environment, or triggers as we call them, activations as we call them, that are often unconscious, conscious, unconscious, and these things will things will be there and you won't even consciously understand why, but it'll just start to bring you into fight or flight reactivity. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? And then the whole cascade of this starts to happen, and you don't really consciously know why it's happening, right? So the anxiety itself becomes the primary threat. So we're just unpacking this, right? That's why this can be a little complicated. Now, a lot of what these practices are going to be about, we'll start to move. It's good. Our weather is cooperating with us today, which is really good. Breaking the spell of anxiety is very counterintuitive because it's a bottom-up process. Often, because we're kind of caught in the rumination or the anticipatory pattern, we tend to try to break it from that place. Do you guys know what I mean? We tend to try to think ourselves out of it. Who tries to think themselves out of it? Good luck with that. That's what leads to a panic attack, right? This is where it goes. Yeah, it's funny because it's not the way, because it just feeds more default mode network activity. So the counterintuitive thing is it needs to be a bottom up. We need to go to the body. We need to let the body lead. It doesn't seem very intelligent, right? We need to drop down and actually come to our senses, literally, and also in many ways, wake up to reality. Okay. Has anyone heard this practice? And it really, to me, and it will be in the notes that I send to you so that you can use it when you're really trapped in a strong riptide of anxiety. Has anyone heard the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method? So listen, this is the method, and if you can feel into it, that it literally is coming to your senses. And it's a mindfulness-based practice, but it says it's a grounding exercise designed to manage acute anxiety, and it involves starting identifying 5 things you can see, moves into the sense mode of seeing, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So this is a very classic, but isn't it just, it's bringing you down. So I just want to say that generally speaking, the guide here is a down up process, not a top down. If you're trying to think your way out of it, you will not be successful. Good. Let me know if you can. I would love to know how you do that. Yeah. So I want to do a little talk, just a little primer about mindfulness so that we all have a sense of what this is that we're learning to cultivate and practice. There is something about being present, but mindful awareness has a particular flavor, and it really allows us to move into the present moment so that we suffer a lot less. Okay. So mindfulness at its foundation, I like Joseph Goldstein's definition. It has kind of 3 main components, but the primary one is, I always use this to illustrate this. Here's the mind stream, right? Here's the body. Don't we often live like this where they're not connected? Do you guys know what I mean by that? The default mode network, when the mind body connection is present in the moment, mindfulness, the foundation for mindfulness is to bring the mind into connection with the body in the present moment. Unless this is happening, it's not really going to be happening. Now, the default mode network, what does it do? What does it do? It does this. It disconnects. And I'll say this, just this is really kind of what we're healing. It does this, and this gap, this disconnect, this is where anxiety lives in the gap. It has no, that's why you know that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice, it's doing this, isn't it? When you do this, now, because it's in the body, the stress reactivity might still be kind of, even though you do this in the present moment, it's still kind of, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the stress reactivity to calm down. Do you guys know what I mean by that? So you'll do this, you'll still feel that. But if you really do this, there's no place for it to live. It doesn't feed the anxiety. If you place the awareness not on the fears in the mind, but in the present moment anchors in the body. So this is foundational. This is what we're going to be doing a little bit today, right now, and then we'll come back. But we're doing this. Not only are we doing this, there is an element with mindful awareness where we're present, and there is awareness of it as it's happening. There's knowing awareness. There's knowing it as it's happening. Do you know what I mean by this, everyone? How many of you have, just like right now, feel your feet, and there's awareness of that as it's happening. So there is a knowing awareness. This is what gives you choice and agency. This element is what gives you a lot of space. This is the liberating aspect. There's knowing. How many of you have kind of been caught in anxiety and there's awareness that you're anxious? This is really the magical element, the knowing it while it's there. Oh, anxiety. And, I'll be offering practices of noting. You just say, oh, you note it. And what happens is with the noting practice, when you can just say, oh, anxiety's here. Now you have to note it without any judgment. It's also noting it, without wanting to fix it or change it. Ooh, that's the really interesting part. It's here and noting it. And what happens, what they found, once again, neuroscience, the amygdala, which is the alarm bell in the brain, it's the anxiety thing in the brain, along with the default mode network, it calms down. So just being able to say anxiety and saying it really gently and just noting it in awareness, right, present in it, it just calms the whole body down. When you have a sense of humor, anxiety can't really handle it, I have to say. If you can laugh, it's so good. It's absurd, right? What the mind does. It's crazy. It's great. Boy, and I felt crazy for a long time. I felt so crazy. Okay, so can you all hear me now online? So, okay. Um, what I was going to say is let's move into some down up practices, very simple mindfulness. And what you want to do in mindfulness awareness is you want to find anchors in the present moment, body mind connection. So we're just being very foundational right now. And soles of the feet. And what we're going to do just now is just so you all know, we're going to spend until about 12:15. So we have some nice time for practice. Is we'll do soles of the feet together. And we really, the feet are are the farthest part of the body from the head. And so it's a really good anchor, gets you out of the mind stream. And also there's something about the feet being really anchored into the earth. There's something about grounding that is very reassuring to the body and the mind, right? It kind of brings you into this grounded experience. So we'll be practicing that. And then those of you online, we're going to move into kind of mindful from the soles of the feet practice, which is something everything I'm going to be offering you today are things you can integrate into your day and to see how they feel. Soles of the feet, you just kind of we'll do this together. And then I'm going to invite you guys to go outside. I don't think it's raining. Those online, if you're able to go outside or you can stay in your environment. And what you're going to do what's called a sense and savor walk. This is where you go outside and you really come to your senses. Let the senses move into the foreground of awareness. Notice the sun if it's out, notice the smells, notice the sounds, almost like be like a bee that goes from flower to flower. Just let yourself, this breaks the spell. Let yourself notice everything that's lovely. What? Everything that's okay as you go outside. Feel that your body can walk. I take it everyone here can walk. Feel that. Feel it as real. Let yourself know what's good. Savor it. You are alive right now. You're in a safe place. I assume everyone is safe online. Enjoy this refuge out in nature. Look at the colors, all the different greens. I want you to soak and savor in the beautifulness of being outside. And then if you want to take your snack, you can move into, I'll let you have this free time to do this. I'll be open for questions. If people want to come for me, I'll be available if you need some support. I'm happy to just kind of be here as you practice. Feel your breath. Just let yourself discover all that's good. Feel it. Sounds, colors, sensations, soles of the feet. Just be in it. Just let the present moment hold you. Trust this moment. Feel it. See how that feels in your body. See how it feels in your mind. Really feel it. And then I'll give you time when you're hungry. Take a time. You can sit in the room, and if you brought a snack with you, I want you to slow down and just practice very simple mindful eating with your time. You can move in and out of walking and eating. You can do whatever. Stay, but stay. And let yourself, the goodness that brought you here today, that wants you to suffer less, the goodness of your heart, let that be part of why you're here. Let the awareness care. Let it come from, just be there with yourself with a quality of tenderness, like you would bring to a very good friend. Awareness, mindful awareness is like a good friend that goes with you everywhere. It takes care of you. And it doesn't want to fix you. It loves you as you are. Feel that element as well. And then, when you eat, slow down, taste it. Look at the food. Take a moment to look at what you brought. Where did it come from? It's part of the natural world. Think of all the elements that brought it into being. Taste it. Enjoy it. Really taste it. Get some tea. Sit outside. The sun's out. Okay. So I'm going to give you like 30, let's take 30 minutes for this. Okay? But let's all stand up together. I'm going to offer soles of the feet, and we're going to do this together. The other thing I want to offer is that everyone can take a here and now stone. You can incorporate this into your practice outside. You don't have to do it quite yet, but before we start, and everyone at home, you can go find an anchor stone or something. Go outside, find a stone or a flower. There's always something. Okay, so let's stand together, and I'm gonna lead you in the yeah. Go ahead, go for it. She wants it, yeah. No problem. Okay, so everybody and everyone at home, let's all stand together. Are you all standing? Okay, so close your eyes just to drop down into the body, and oh, welcome home, everyone. Welcome to your body. Welcome to this moment. You've been waiting maybe a long time to really land, and I welcome you here. Yeah, so take a moment just to feel the weight of your body and drop the awareness. See what it feels like to choose to rest the awareness into the feet and the sensations and soles of the feet right now. Really take residency, full residency into the feet and land into that experience. The feet are really beautiful parts of the body that carry our weight all day long. They're kind of we never give them the appreciation, right? Think about what they do. They're little areas that hold our body all day long. It's unsung heroes of our body. So drop in there with some appreciation. Feel the toes. Now, what I want you to do is roll up onto the balls of the feet a little. Feel, just leaning the body forward a little. Feel all you're doing, we're just bringing the sensations of the experience into so roll forward, feel that. Now gently roll your weight back into the heels just so you feel that. Just get curious. They found in neuroscience that you can't be curious and judgmental at the same time. And so experiment with that. Just get really curious. Like, ooh, what am I feeling right now? And then what I want you to do is just begin to rock from side to side. You can bend one knee like a ship, Let it be a gentle rhythm as you rock. And what this does is rocking soles of the feet, it gently soothes the nervous system. It brings the parasympathetic, and it regulates all that stress reactivity I was talking about. Just rock side to side, almost like a tree branch in the breeze. And just enjoy the sensations, the rocking. As you rock side to side, get curious about the weight of the right foot into the earth as you lean. And really savor. We're really sensing and savoring into the sensations. Rock to the left. Make this be kind of cool. Let it be kind of interesting. Let it feel good. Rock side to side. Slow down. Giving yourself permission to slow down, that also often takes the wind out of the sails of that anxiety pattern, So feel your breath. Right. Just rock. So I'm going to set you free now. Slow down. Take it so slow. You just get to be in the here and now. It's so lovely. And you can start to walk. I'm going to invite you all to stay in silence, everybody. Don't talk. You can look at each other, but don't talk. Drop down. Drop down. And I'm going to read a poem just to bid you off into your practice. This is a poem called Mindful. Really beautiful poem. Very simple. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these, the untrimmable light of the world? The oceans shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Please enjoy. Enjoy. So I'll give you a minute to return. I know people are using the restroom. Sure, as I think, as we're settling, I'll just offer the poem. It's called Yes by William Stafford. And I'll be sending you all these poems. Is everyone back online? Everyone back online? I welcome you back. Hey, welcome back. I think this poem kind of captures what we're learning to shift into, that the present moment brings such refuge to the mind, heart, and body. He says, it could happen anytime. Tornado, earthquake, Armageddon. It could happen. Or sunshine, love, salvation. It could, you know. That's why we wake and look out. No guarantees in this life, but some bonuses, like morning, like right now, like noon, like evening. So we're holding the truth of uncertainty in balance. But this right here becomes the only safe place to land, truly. Right, everyone? Because the future never quite arrives. Does it ever? You tell me. So welcome back. And so we're going to move into some practice of equanimity and wisdom, but I wanted to say just a few words about mindfulness. And here's what you can start to map out is that what we're doing through mindful practice, both formal and informally, formal practice is a daily practice. How many of you do have a formal practice of sitting every day? Good, good, good. There's formal, but there's also informal. And that's where, because we're sitting every day, but this is really for your life. That's where the rubber hits the road. And so we're integrating it into our life. So you really, especially with anxiety and working with that, because it's really comes on when we're, when we're in our lives, is that we're really finding anchors. So anchors in the present moment, anchors in the direct senses of the body. And you can really play with this. It's very creative, but the simpler the better. Soles of the feet, you can sometimes with anxiety, it doesn't feel good to sit. It's better to walk. Right, everyone? Because why? Because the body's revved up, as I've described, right? The stress reactivity is kind of flowing. So it feels too hard to sit down. So take a long, slow down, really slow down, and just walk outside very slowly, feeling the experience of the feet on the earth. Did anybody feel the wind outside? Did anybody hear the birds? Wasn't that lovely? Did anyone really feel the sun on their skin? And did you taste any food that you brought, everybody? So it's really that simple. And then, there can be elements in the present moment when we do settle and when we become more present. All of perhaps what's been exiled or banished or pushed away does kind of show up, everybody. And that's why people start sitting because they want to feel better. And they go, what? I don't want to feel that. They stop meditating. And so we learn to be with that. It's okay if all that stuff arises. It's beautiful. It means it's ready for love and healing. It means it's coming online for love. Everything just needs to be loved, truly. Isn't it true? And when it's met with this kind of love, non-fixing, acceptance, it settles down because it's getting what it needs. And that's a little bit of the way our practice flows. So we're finding these anchors in the here and now. When these other elements do show up in our practice, what we're learning to do is to notice both and that in the present moment, even though some of that material, whatever that may be, starts to come into awareness, we do not forget our breath. We still allow some of those very simple physical anchors to bring balance to the experience. Do you hear me, everybody? And that, you know what sometimes I do? I just feel my hands. Everybody do this with me. This is nice, right? It's just nice. It's simple. The hands tend to be islands of peace and tranquility most of the time. Isn't it peaceful in the hands? You can rest in that. Do you really feel it? You can drop into that. Let yourself slowly feel how peaceful the hands are. Yeah? Surprising, right? The other thing I wanted to say was that I'm not really going to focus on this exclusively today. We're going to move into some wisdom practice. Is that along an anchor that you can do, and I strongly encourage you, if you feel like in order to support your this part this understanding of anxiety, I would really recommend taking a mindful self-compassion class. And this is where it really operates in that we start to notice, listen, doesn't anxiety create so much suffering, right? And we don't want to suffer anymore. It's suffering. And truly, self-compassion is an element that is so important to meet our moments of suffering, not only with mindful anchors, but that there can be a quality of heart that shows up and says, oh, and that cares and can be with the suffering with self-compassion. So another anchor that I do want to offer you, and I do this all day long, is to place the hands that can feel like tranquility and to feel, just put them on your heart right now and melt into that gesture. Doesn't that feel nice? Do you feel the tenderness of that? Yeah, you can rub, you can really do that. And often anxiety disorders do stem from when we're very young, we haven't been held and rocked enough. I see somebody rocking. You can just do all of this. And somebody was sharing with me, there are gender conditioning, and maybe some of the men in the room are like, this is not masculine. Or maybe not. Just to just kind of let yourself be rocked, like, the nervous system that gets dysregulated by anxiety, it is like a very innocent young child. It just does whatever so just doesn't this feel good? So the other part that can be really beautiful is to bring into your anchors, warm it up with some tenderness and self-compassion. And doesn't this feel nice? Just feel into the tone of it. The hand can go anywhere on the body. We're going to be moving into this where wherever you feel the anxiety in rain, I'm going to be offering this. So I'll just kind of start to, you can put your hands where you feel the anxiety in the body and just let that self-compassionate gesture just hold it, not fixing, not trying to make it go away. And what happens is the whole system calms down when it's held with care, because the real need here is love and care. Does this make sense, everybody? We just, we get scared. We need to be held like a little infant in many ways. Our nervous system operates that way. So I just invite you to blend elements of this, and I do invite you to take mindful self-compassion that we offer here at Inside LA. Okay, so I'd love to now move into some deeper layers of understanding along with the mindful anchors and all of this. Is that when anxiety arises, it's also an opportunity for wisdom. Often, what is missing, along with self-compassion and care and tenderness, is deeper wisdom. And I just want to talk about this a little bit. There is actually so much out of our control. Would you all agree with me on that? It's pretty vulnerable, the truth. That poem kind of touches into it, doesn't it? There's guarantees in this life. Anything could happen at any time. No, it's true. She's laughing, but it's true. Right? It's true. We're so vulnerable. But there's so much that we cannot control. But what do we have control over, if anything? Does anyone? Huh? Yeah. Yes. Good, good. He gets a gold star. He went, oh. The one thing that we do have control over in many ways is how we relate to or respond to whatever is arising in the present moment. Do we have control over what comes into our head? I don't. Isn't the mind crazy? We have a choice how we relate to the content in the mind rather than identifying with it and becoming so caught up in it and entangled with it. We can relate to it differently with wisdom. We're learning to relate to the anxiety itself with love and care and understanding. We'll be moving deeper into that with rain practice. But a lot of what is managing and breaking the spell of anxiety is that we have to understand if the only thing that we really have control over is our response or reaction to something, how we choose to act, how we choose to relate to it, we realize that it's truly an inside job. With anxiety, what happens is, you guys tell me, we start to try to control what we can't control. It's almost like there's a boundary there. But what happens is we just cross that boundary and we start messing with things. Do you know what I mean? And the truth is, we cannot control it. And this is where we start to get very caught up in anxiety because some part of us believes that we can manipulate reality and we can stop things from happening. I wish we could. The truth is things happen, they do. So we just cannot really. There is some wisdom or what we call equanimity. Equanimity is this capacity, it's this kind of more Zen quality of being with things as they are and accepting that there is a lot out of our control and making peace with that. For me personally, this was a huge part of breaking the spell of anxiety. I had to accept that things don't last. It was interesting. I was listening to a podcast. Does anyone listen to Ezra Klein? And he was saying that he also had really horrible anxiety about end of life and death. And he just, like, I don't know. and and he said what really helped him was he said, I had to accept that I didn't know. And just not knowing and accepting that he couldn't figure it out and he didn't know when it was going to happen, it brought a lot of peace. And there's something about accepting what we can't control that calms the mind down and that mental activity doesn't proliferate as much. Right, everybody? So, this is really the underpinnings of OCD and things like this and addictions and perfectionism. In reality, everything is constantly changing, imperfect, and uncertain. That's the soup we're in. And it's not going to change. And no thinking is going to change it. We can't, think about the futility of trying to undo it in the mind, which is what anxiety tends to live on and thrive on. Yes? So I hope this lands for you. This is the truth of life. We have to make peace that there's so much out of our control. And I'll just read to you, maybe some of you know the Serenity Prayer. It's a beautiful practice on equanimity. Grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now, there's some serenity in accepting. Do you hear that in that? When you accept it, there brings peace. The courage to change the things I can. So it's not that you're giving up. You're still present with conditions. You're going to be present in them. You're going to look around you. You're going to see if there is something you can do that makes sense. And the wisdom to know the difference. This is the wisdom. This is the discernment. If you're present, if you're not caught in the virtual loop of the mind, that remember, what I've laid the foundation for us to understand is that it is lying to us. Okay? So when we're more present, we have the agency, we have the capacity to discern in each moment. It changes all the time, doesn't it? It's always changing. What can I do that will make a difference? And let the rest of it go and love yourself and others and be as wise as you can. And believe me, we're all in the same boat, aren't we? You're not alone with this. We're all in this. True. Right? Yes. Did you have a question? Wait, maybe we need to bring the mic. You can stay seated. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to remember what I was thinking. Basically, what you just said about wisdom to know the difference? Like, can you elaborate on that? Like, what it
Yeah.
feels like to tune into.
The discernment piece.
Yeah, that seems really like to me, like kind of hard
Really
to
hard.
understand. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. If it's too confusing right now, don't get too caught up in it. So I'll just say that. It's very simple in something like, if the only thing that we can control is how we relate to things, and we're going to do an exercise in order to define this a little bit more for you. It's something we kind of spend some time with inquiry with in present moment, but just stay with how you relate to things. Stay in the lane of whatever the conditions are. Stay in the lane of choosing to relate to them in a way that doesn't create too much stress, allows for more acceptance, where you're letting go of judgment, resistance, and reactivity. Often what's happening, we don't like it, we don't want it, right? Right, everybody? We don't like a lot of what's happening a lot of the time. We wish it were different a lot of the time. The definition of resistance is any moment in which we think things should be other than what they are. That's a lot of the time. So stay really simply at first in the lane of just being with things and accepting them as they are, not because you like them, but because it allows you to be with them with less reactivity. Then you can respond. We want to shift from a reactive mode into a more responsive mode. I see your eyes going around, so maybe it's confusing you more. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. But like right now, in this moment, just seeing if you can just be with things as they are and just with curiosity and just seeing how that feels. Just being with everything with some curiosity, some openness, some receptivity. And then it gives you the capacity to discern because you're not as reactive. Because remember, when we're reactive, we're not operating on full brain function. So I don't want to confuse you, but it is a deep practice.
yeah.
You can keep the
That
mic.
that'd be interesting to hear if you had anything more to say about that. Because I definitely get the idea of like if you just ground yourself, like you'll calm down and you'll be like maybe
Yes,
less susceptible to like certain things, but like at the next thing you do, kind of like
I
that's
know.
like
For now, stay grounded. Just more cultivate mindfulness. Just stay where you are. For everybody here, if this is kind of new, wisdom practice is kind of we're cultivating that through mindfulness. So yes, stay grounded, stay as present as you can, and then you'll see that the wisdom factor is more present for you.
will it just be like in certain choices you'll kind of be able to like feel into like that feels like kind of bad or like it feels kind of like more like it feels more like versus like or
Yeah, it will feel like the right thing to do.
yeah,
It will feel more skillful.
yeah.
And sometimes the right thing to do is just to wait if you're not sure.
Do you
If you're not sure, just allow yourself to land into the moment a little bit more fully.
when you're like learning to kind of like tap into that, like do you feel like you would ever use like more like thinking principles to kind of like help you tune into that, like just like kind of like I guess more like the kind of like logical framework stuff of Buddhism, like
Hold on, I'll just stop you. I
okay.
wouldn't do that. Not from a mindfulness perspective. If it helps you though, I would do it if it helps you. But but here but for now I hear you, but just stay present and see if that serves you. Thinking principles might get you more into the cognitive conceptual frame, which is what we're learning to uh, really let go of at this point. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's keep going because we've got some practice to do. So yeah, and I'm going to be saying a lot, as I said, and as I said at the very beginning, there's some rich material here. So what I invite you to do is just let whatever lands, lands, and don't worry about it. You'll be able to look through some of the material, see and explore it, but stay where you are. Stay close in. Stay with, if you're really just cultivating mindfulness for the first time today, that's really the main thing. Okay, everybody? But let's see how these, and then I would invite you, what we're going to do now is practice the mountain meditation. Has anyone practiced this? This is a meditation that really cultivates equanimity. Now, does everyone have something to write with and a pen and pencil? Does everyone have something to write with? Who does not? Do we have any paper anywhere? We don't, do we? Oh, maybe, ooh, thank you. Maybe just a few pieces to share with others so that everyone has something to write with. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to offer the mountain meditation, and then we're going to move into an exercise where you kind of create two columns on a page and where you consider a situation in your life that might be a little bit stressful for you right now. We're really going to move into an exploration of this. And I want you to write down two columns, things you can control about this situation, things you cannot control about the situation, and give you just an opportunity to really kind of get into one issue in your life right now and write in these two columns. I'll give you time to write about this. What can I control? What can I not control? And just let yourself reflect on this. And it's something you can always refine, but what we would suggest is to stay always in the lane of what you can control, to not start to control what you can't control. I would say if you try to control the mind, you won't, it's staying with your own present moment experience, not getting too caught up in the activity of the mind, right? So we're going to do this a little bit and then we'll share in small groups. But okay, one column is the things that you can control, and the other column is everything that you can't control. So this is just kind of an inquiry process. And you can bring this to any situation in your life just to help you stay in the lane of what is within your control. Whenever we start, often when I feel anxious, one of the first things I do is I check the body and I start to anchor, but I ask myself, what am I trying to control that I can't control? And usually I am trying to control something. Yeah. So we'll do mountain meditation as an equanimity practice. I want you to see how this feels, and then I'll just invite you to let it flow into the writing exercise, everybody. Okay? So with that being said, I'd love for you to just put your paper down and have it at the ready, basically. And I'd like you to sit back into a sitting posture that feels comfortable for you. And see if you can adopt a posture that feels kind of like a mountain. What equanimity, this is a grounding wisdom practice that might also offer you a really nice practice as a way to kind of work with anxiety. I want you to feel your body. You can start to close your eyes and allow yourself to move into a posture that really feels in which the lower half of the body is like a base of a mountain. Feeling very grounded, and that it provides a secure, stable base for the upper body. So feel into that. This mountain meditation is a practice that does involve some imagery, but see if you can just let the imagery support the qualities of equanimity that are already within you that we want to cultivate in service of your practice. So you feel the lower half of the body like a mountain, and then just allowing the awareness to move up into the upper half of the body. And the upper half of the body can kind of feel like the upper part of the mountain, with the top of the head being the top of the mountain. And, just feeling into the body as a mountain of wisdom, of equanimity, of deep clarity. Bless you. So just stay with the grounded experience in the body, really feeling the base of the body, the points of contact, really dropping into that elemental, grounded quality of the body, fully supported by the earth. And do feel the earth element. Can everyone just feel the earth holding the body? This is a relational experience that's always present, the gravitational embrace, holding the body. And as you allow, just resting in the body as a whole, just resting grounded, body like a kind of mountain, very steady, very present. And as you rest in the body like a mountain, you can just invite and allow an image of a mountain to form in your mind's eye and just see what shows up for you. Often images really can can bring us into a deeper felt sense of these qualities that we're cultivating. It can bypass any argument in the mind. And allow the image of a mountain. It could be a mountain that you've been to in your experience in life, or it can be a mountain that just spontaneously emerges in your mind's eye that captures this really majestic, unshakable quality of deep presence and wisdom. And we would say it's a quality of equanimity. So allow the image to be as majestic, as awesome, and feel into the qualities as you sit there, the qualities that are emanating from that image, qualities of deep presence. Allow it to really be felt in your own body and being. And just working with this image, I'll just invite that as you sit like a mountain, allowing that image to support the experience, tuning into the image, feeling the image in your own body. Around the mountain of your experience, your life is really swirling around you, right? In all its forms. There's the changing weather patterns. They come and they go. Nothing lasts. There's clouds and sun and rain like this morning here in LA. And snow. Always changing. And yet the mountain sits fully present, grounded, non-reactive, dignified in its full presence. And throughout this meditation, just dropping back into the body as a mountain, feeling into the qualities that are already within you. We're just learning to access and to know them deeply. Days and nights pass, they come and they go. And yet the mountain sits. In the dark of night, as well as the light of day. It sits equally, unchanging, still and utterly calm, utterly calm. Seasons pass over the year, and spring, like today, it brings new life and so much green. It carpets the land. Flowers bloom, birds begin making their nests. And yet the mountain sits. And yet the mountain sits. And you can use the image of the mountain to just bring you back into that kind of alignment with the qualities within your own being. Deep clarity, presence. Over time, fall brings changing colors as the leaves on the trees transform from green to orange, brown, and yellow. The days grow cooler, shorter. Clouds, they come and they go. And yet the mountain sits, unchanging, fully present. And you can really allow the earth to be your witness in any moment, feeling the earth. Winter brings a cold chill over time, and the seasons continue to shift and change as they do. Trees lose their leaves, and the earth becomes barren, soon carpeted with white, crisp snow, covering all. The mountain even becomes snow-capped, and yet it sits, fully present and dignified, peaceful, peaceful, and elemental. Of course, over time, winter melts again into spring. What was barren becoming green again, life renewing itself over and over, season after season. And through it all, the mountain remains. So there can become much strength and presence and stillness and stability in this mountain of present awareness. We're learning to cultivate present moment awareness as a kind of mountain. Inviting these qualities into your experience in this moment right now as you're sitting here, just as you are, fully present and calm, just like a mountain. Life swirls around you, and yet you can sit, finding the mountain in your awareness in the midst of your life. So as you sit in presence in this way, perhaps dropping into a deeper kind of wise present moment awareness. And I would love to invite you, as I did, to consider a situation in your life that maybe is creating some kind of stress or anxiety for you. Just whatever shows up. Nothing too, maybe on a scale of 10, maybe a 5 or under, if you can find that. Right? Funny. Good to laugh. And reflect on it and sit as a mountain as you do, finding that mountain in your present moment experience and really take in this situation. Let it just swirl around you as it is without too much reactivity, right? See what it feels like to relate to the experience in this way. It's a situation, it's probably not how you would like it to be, right? And see if you can bring that mountain of stability, bringing awareness to it. Just calmly kind of explore it. And whenever you feel ready, I invite you to open your eyes and allow you to just begin to fill in those two columns. In this situation, just writing what you feel is within your control, coming from this mountain of awareness. Be clear about it as best as you can. And then in the other column, just list all those things that really are not within your control and give yourself time. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to write. And then I'll move you into really small groups to share. I'll give you 5 more minutes. Just take your time. And even as you're doing the writing, see if it brings more clarity to you. Um, really, as you're writing, noticing how it feels in the body and the mind and the heart as you get clarity in any way. Let yourself experience that. But then flowing into, that exercise may be something in your life. So I want to open it up to questions. Anything, any insights, any questions you had about this? This is a kind of inquiry practice that you can continue to unpack in different situations that come up for you. I personally have found such it's a paradox once again. Off Welcome back those online also. This is a poem called Calm. How do you cross the flood? You cross calmly, one step at a time, finding the stones. How do you cross the flood, my heart? You cross calmly, one step at a time, or not at all. So do you feel the power in that? We are crossing calmly, one stone at a time. That's what we can do, right? We can be present. It's a good thing. So come on back. Okay, so rain practice, I'm going to break it down. It's a rich day, right? How's everyone feeling? You feel like you can practice some more? A little bit? Oh, good. Okay. Those online, welcome back. Cookies are here. That's good news. So rain, I know, it's funny. Well, we have to laugh. So rain practice is a beautiful practice for the mindful regulation of emotions. Rain is an acronym. It's a 4-part practice. So what I'm going to do before we experience it, I'd like to break it down. And rain practice is great because what it does is it brings in elements of mindfulness that we have been kind of establishing today, but it helps us and it breaks down the process into these 4 steps with emotion, especially anxiety, so that we can kind of digest and regulate the emotion as it's happening. So I'm going to break it down. The first step, R stands for recognize. And this is where the first step is that we just, when anxiety, and I'll just focus on anxiety right now because that's our focus. So when anxiety, as soon as you notice anxiety, and how do you notice anxiety? I kind of asked you guys, do you feel it in your body? You just start to feel bad, start to feel really, well, right? So as soon as you can know it, the first step is to recognize it and to just name it, to note it. And as we say, if you can name it, you can tame it. This is this first kind of, and as I've shared with you, often emotions can become a stressor if we don't know how to be with them. It can be a stress, can cause a lot of stress reactivity, the emotion. How many of you start to feel anxiety and then you start to have anxiety about your anxiety? This is what I'm talking about. So to just name it can stop that avalanche of reactivity, because as I said, when you do this accurately and calmly, the amygdala calms down in the brain, and this stops that stress reactivity in the body. It helps kind of calm it down. So that's the first step, just to name it. How many of you, when you're anxious, it just takes you away? And that there's no awareness present. So this first step is just bringing awareness to it. You're not trying to change it or fix it. That's the interesting aspect, and that's the mindful aspect to this. With all emotions, and mindfulness always says, there's nothing that you can feel. There's nothing wrong with anything that you can feel. It's just an experience in the body, heart, mind, right? So recognize. The next step is to allow it. Now, this is the mindful piece. This is what we almost never do with anxiety. Isn't it hard to do, especially with anxiety compared to other emotions, because it is about survival and you do feel like it's life or death? And to allow that to be is like, what? It feels really weird to do that. And that's what we're doing with anxiety. One of the main anxiety kinds of methods of taming, of befriending, of breaking the spell of anxiety is that you name it and then you turn towards it and you say, oh, and you give it all the space it needs. Have you ever seen a horse when it gets really, if you put it in really small quarters, doesn't it just get crazy? But when you let it out to pasture, it just will do this. Now listen, when you allow it to be there, there can be no like covert agenda. Oh, I'll allow it so it'll go away. I hear that laughing, right? It has to really be a kind of allowing where it could be there and you just accept that, acceptance is you're starting to get the flavor that a lot of the magic of mindfulness is this acceptance piece. Once again, to allow something, you do not have to like it. You can even say, okay, ugh. It's okay to acknowledge that. You don't have to like it. You don't have to love it. But it's here. And this is what I want to ask you. This is a wisdom piece. Once anxiety shows up, can you make it go away? You can't. So the wise response, what we're learning, remember, what we're learning is what we can control. It's here. So the wise way to be with it is to let it be there and to give it space to be there and to not get into an argument or don't make it an enemy. To break the spell with anxiety is to befriend it. Now, this is really what? But just allow it. Say, okay, I wish you were gone, but you're here. So, okay, come on in. Come on in. And then the allowing is, I'm going to walk you through this experientially so you can see how it feels in your body. The allowing it gives you permission to explore it in awareness. Okay, so the other thing I want to say about the allowing it is that, and I'll walk you through this experientially, but when you say energetically, when you say yes to it, what happens is with anxiety is that you'll feel in real time when you really do give it permission to be there, you'll feel the body and all of that stress reactivity just kind of, because what is feeding the anxiety most and what it feeds on, what it lives on is resistance and fear. By being with it with acceptance, you feel that it can't exist on that. So it's depriving it of that nutrition that it needs in a way. So it's a very counterintuitive thing. But as you experience it, you do want to notice how it feels in the brain and the body when you accept it. It kind of quiets it down. Okay. And next, you're going to, the rain, the next letter is inquire, to investigate or to inquire. So this is an inquiry piece now. Now, this is a really good part. This is where you've given it space. You get curious. This is not a mental process. You're not like moving up into your head. You're dropping deep into the body. Now, all emotions have a mental component and a physical component. You're dropping into you're letting the story go. The story in the mind tends to feed the anxiety. Would you agree? Because it's default mode network activity that's all about, oh no, right? You're letting that kind of drop away and you're dropping down in the inquiry process and getting curious about where you feel the anxiety in the body. It's much easier to regulate experience in the body. You can track it, you can bring mindfulness to it. It's very hard to be mindful in the mind stream. Do you guys know what I mean by that? Let that go. Notice where you feel it in the body and then just track it with curiosity. Now, what you'll notice is it will change, it will shift. It's a living thing. And with emotions, if you do not allow them to move through the body, they get trapped in the body. They remain in the body and it makes us sick. I had so much anxiety. What happened to me was because I didn't know how to regulate the experience. I had all these intestinal problems. I don't know if anybody else has that, but that's, tends to mess with your, intestines and everything. So you really allow it to be felt. You feel it where you feel it, and you just track it with curiosity without any judgment. And you just kind of inquire about it and just observe and inquire with it. And you stay and you track it with acceptance. What will happen is that it will move through the system and it will just like weather. Think about anxiety as being like a weather storm and just don't take it personally. Just let it be sensations that are moving through the body like weather and see if you can just track it. And it will move through the system if you don't feed it with fear or resistance or judgment. Yeah? This is a practice, though. It takes time. But do you understand what I'm saying a little bit as I'm breaking this down? It's really important to bring curiosity to it. That will keep you tracking it mindfully. And you can, during the inquiry process, if you start to, you'll start to regulate. The system will get regulated. You'll notice in the inquiry process a little bit that you'll move into more full brain function. It will bring on parasympathetic balance into the system. And you'll be able to kind of ascertain what's going on. And you can ask yourself, am I trying to control? This is when you get more regulated and you can start to say, am I trying to control what I can't control? And you can start to get some insight into the situation a little bit. But wait till you're a little regulated. Do you know what I mean? That'll happen naturally in the inquiry process. Don't push yourself where you're not there. Just stay where you are. Stay where you are. Now, the next step is the last step is nurture. This is that piece that I was speaking about Jane with and some other people. This is where you bring in the self-care. This is where you care because you're suffering, not as a fix, but this is where you can take your hands and where it is in the body, you can place your hands there and go, oh, and just hold it and just rub it. You're not trying to make it go away once again. You're just being with it with love, like a good friend. Have you ever had a really good friend just be with you, not try to fix or change you when you're suffering? Doesn't it feel healing when there's no agenda? It really does. And this is the nurture piece. No agenda, love. And you can rock, you can do this, you can go lay down. Oh, you can hold your head. It's so, anxiety is so this, right? Isn't it? It's just, you can just do this. Oh. And just hold your head and just rock and it will work its magic if there's no agenda. If you just love, because the nurture piece is saying, this is hard, this is challenging, I care about you. That's really what it is. Often anxiety operates when there's no love or care or just holding. Because don't you agree with the uncertainty of the human condition? All that we're going through right now, don't we all just need to be held right now? We just need somebody to go, please just hold me. So this is where you get to do that. What's really interesting about these different holding gestures, make it real, is that the body doesn't differentiate between a kind gesture from yourself or other people. The body can't tell the difference. So you can offer this to yourself and see how it feels. So this is how we start to work through the anxiety just as an emotion. Letting go of the story. You can, after you do this, as I think it was Ezra was asking, you can move into, as you're more regulated, you can move into that process of seeing what you can control and kind of, there's wisdom practices, heart practices. We do all of these so that we regulate, we move into kind of a place of a little bit more balance with the situation, whatever it may be, and then we can bring our best self to it. Yeah. So let's practice rain. Let's try this. Everybody? And I want to read you this poem, The Guest House. Does anyone know this poem by Rumi? It's kind of the rain practice in a poem. So I'll read it to you as you settle into a sitting posture. It feels good. He says, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, I'll say an anxiety, a meanness, some unexpected awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. This is that welcoming. This is that allowing. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, the fear, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond." So that's a different way of being with emotions, right? So, okay, settle in and lay down. I see people laying down. If you want to lay down at home, please lay down. Online, if you want to. It's, as an act of self-compassion, right? So settle in. What I'd like you to do is just kind of take a few deep breaths, right? Feel your body, that first, we're going to do this. Just feel yourself in the room, wherever you are. Take a few deep breaths. And so that anxiety kind of becomes something you can work with through this rain practice, what I'm going to do is invite you to just think of, once again, if you can, on a scale from 1 to 10, about a 4. But first, settle a little bit. I will invite you to consider something in your life right now that might bring on a little bit of anxiety for you. Not a lot, hopefully, just a little bit so you can try this on. Yeah. So just rest in your breath for a moment. I want to give you just a moment just to rest in your experience right now. Feel the earth. The earth is your witness. It's always such a grounding element, anchor. You can feel everyone in the room together as a kind of nice support. Those online, hopefully even on Zoom, you can feel that we're all in this together. And that feeling of kind of community can really help us land as well. So feel it. We're all just here. Hear the sounds, the stillness. Just drinking in the present moment a bit. Drink in the present moment, the sounds, the stillness. So feeling a little bit present as we practice in this way. I'd love to invite you to just consider a situation in your life right now that does bring on for you some anxiety, and just bring it into your mind's eye, whatever that is. Only enough, you can just put a toe in. Only enough you can really sit at the edge of that water. Only only enough so that you can start to feel anxiety in the body, heart, mind, however it starts to bubble up. Just consider those conditions, the situation. It might involve people, it may not. It might involve your own body, it may not. It may involve something in the world, it may not. And bring it into your awareness. Place yourself in that experience a little bit, the reality of it, whatever it may be. And see if you kind of begin to notice the anxiety start to bubble up, which it may. And this becomes a wonderful golden opportunity for you to try on the practice of rain with anxiety. And just staying with the experience. See if you can just very gently walk through these steps, and I'll guide you through it gently, very gently. First, just see if you can give yourself permission to note or recognize, oh, this is anxiety, and name it accurately. Any anxiety that you're noticing, just let awareness turn toward it calmly and say, oh, anxiety is here. And see how that feels when you do that. You know, that spirit of welcome, like in the Rumi poem, just, oh, hello, anxiety. You're here now. Notice how that feels to welcome it and to note it. And continuing that spirit of welcome, you can just gently and naturally move into the next step of allowing. What would it be like to really put the welcome mat out and to just say yes to it? See if you can give it all the space it may need. And as I was saying, you don't have to like it. It can be kind of ugh. But now that it's here, the wise response is to give it space because it's here now. So just see how it feels to give it all the space it needs and notice how it feels to just say yes energetically to it. It's not the situation you're saying yes to, it's the emotion, the experience in the body. Okay, so just to make this very simple, it's that the emotion has arisen in your being. Just say yes to it. See how it feels in your body when you do that. Just saying, okay, the emotion is in the body, in the mind. And if you feel ready, you can very, very gently move into this process of inquiry where you get kind of curious about it. Okay, it's here. I think I'm going to really get to know it and feel it. We say, if you can feel it, you can heal it. So I invite you to just feel it in the body. Where in the body is it showing up? And get curious about it. Like a really good kind of explorer in your own internal experience. And just feel where it is in the body. Does it feel kind of tight? Does it feel more rapid or where does it show up? And as you get curious about it, just kind of track it in the body. Just stay with it. And as you do so, does it change? Does it kind of move on its way? Does it get, the more you allow and get curious about it and just feel it in the body, does it go on its way? Does it have a life of its own? Yeah. Now, if there starts to be a little bit of fear about it or resistance to it, notice that This is how we typically relate to anxiety. It's the typical pattern. And see what it's like to just move back into the allowing. Just say, okay, yes, yes. Okay. Yeah. And as you continue to just track it in the body as best as you can also just maybe with this situation, if you feel if you'd like to, it can include kind of wondering about, is this really life threatening? It may be, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Is this, um, is this hard enough that I can just not make this worse for myself and just be with it? Ride this wave of anxiety, just ride it out. Feel it as it moves through the system, letting it do whatever it wants to do, trusting its intelligence. And you can also maybe inquire, am I trying to control something I can't control? If it's helpful, you can drop that in if you like during this kind of aspect of the practice. And if you are, just let go of that clinging and stay with the body. I will say that this practice is mainly a practice in the body, emotions being felt in the body. So if there is a story in the mind, we're kind of allowing that to just move into the back seat of awareness. It can still happen. The story might still be operating, but you don't have to focus on it. You can just let it do its thing and just focus down, regulate into the body experience and see how that feels. And then this last step is nurture. So this is where you really get to say, oh my goodness, and allow there to be some self-compassion there. You can put one or both hands wherever you feel it on the body and just see what it's like to just feel your own warm support there. Really show up because this is most probably causing you suffering. Anxiety is not easy to feel. It's uncomfortable, scary. And see if you can hold yourself like you would to any young child who was scared, or you can add some rocking if you want, if that soothes and really comforts you in this experience. You can also, in this nurture, you can add a gentle word to yourself. You can say, I'm here. I'm really here. I know this is really hard, but I'm here for you. I'm really here. I'm going to stay with you. I care. I really care. I'm so sorry. This is really hard, but I care about you. And let the rain practice really be a practice of caring, not fixing. And see how that flavor, see how that deepens the experience of the emotional. This is really emotional regulation. So what I'd like you to do is just let go of that situation that you were bringing to mind. Let it dissolve. Let that go and return as we end this practice, just returning to a felt sense of the room where you are, the breath again, if you like, whatever anchors you in a way that feels supportive and grounded. And just, yeah. And I'm going to read a poem as we end this practice. It's called Allow by Donna Fowles. And you can just rest as I read this poem in support of this process. There is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow, and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in. The only safety lies in letting it all in. The wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and success. When loss rips off the doors of the heart or sadness veils your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes. So you can all open your eyes and, yeah, deep, right? So that's rain practice. And I will be sending you a link so you can listen to somebody guiding you. So that's something that, and all these things that I'm offering today, just let them land wherever they land. Don't worry about it. And know that these are all life practices. Believe me, so this last process or practice, this is kind of a blend of an ancient practice from Tibetan Buddhism called feeding the demon. And we're going to feed the demon. And in mindful self-compassion, which I also teach, we have a similar kind of practice. It kind of, has anyone heard of internal family systems work? It's working on that level of different parts and such. And it's really allowing what we would say from a Buddhist perspective, the true nature, or we might say the inner healing intelligence, to kind of come in and help allow the full psyche and system some integration and healing and balancing around some of these patterns that are driving anxiety underneath the surface. So it's kind of a blend. And often with anxiety, and I was kind of tuning into it with people a little bit here, is that underlying the pattern, and perhaps this stems to period early in our life at times, maybe when we're children often, where there's just an unmet need. There's something that wasn't present at a period for whatever reason where there was a feeling of powerlessness or what have you, and there was just a real need that wasn't met, and it leaves us with this real feeling of internal lack of safety, right? So we are healing this from the inside out. We often think with anxiety that it's out there, don't we? We think it's out there. We need to fix this, fix that. But a lot of maybe these practices are showing us that the internal resourcing will be kind of what's been missing. So true healing of these patterns really deeply involves befriending anxiety, really turning towards it, getting to know it. We're going to, this practice, what it does is it allows you to kind of move into a relationship with the pattern, the anxiety, what have you, so that you might get to know it and understand its deeper function. It's there for a reason. It's trying to help you, maybe. And to maybe start to see it with more compassion. This starts to shift the relational experience with the pattern. And it allows there to be a little bit more integration of a part that has not been fully met yet in consciousness. So we will see how this goes. And what I'd like to invite you to do is, it does involve a little bit of kind of imagery. There's a little bit of that. And it has about 5 steps in it that I'll be moving us through. And if for any reason, especially if you've never done this before, if for any reason it gets a little confusing for you, just don't worry about it. Don't try, just kind of stay where it feels like it's working for you. Stay where I want ultimately with all of these guided meditations, you really have to trust your own experience and stay with what works best for you. So I just want to really free you up and give you a lot of choice. With trauma sensitive practices, what we want to do is just really honor your choice and agency and to give you a lot of space for that. So you are the driver of your own experience. You're the one. I'm here to support you in any way that I can. But let's see if the psyche and the system comes online in this practice for you so that you can move into a more of a holistic experience with it and that it allows for more internal integration and healing. And then the system gets freed up from the inside out. And then you notice that you're just not quite as triggered by things. Yeah. Wouldn't that be good? All right. With a lot of love and compassion, I invite you just to settle now in, everybody, into a posture. You can lie down. Some of you are lying down here. I know the room doesn't allow for everybody to, but if you're really sleepy, don't lie down. Pay attention to your awareness. And close your eyes if you want to. Please know that you can open and close your eyes as you like throughout this practice in that trauma sensitive way. And just start by putting a hand anywhere on your body, 1 or 2 hands, just as a gesture of real friendship. We're befriending our whole self. And I want to say that all parts are welcome here. That anxiety, often it's a boogeyman till we turn to it and then we realize it's just a wounded part that needs a lot of attention, right? So let's just bring a lot of love to all parts of ourselves here. All are welcome, all exiled, banished. All parts are welcome here and to be understood, to be loved. So just let the whole system feel welcome here. And just see how that feels. All is welcome. We really practice all of these practices with a big, compassionate heart. So just take a nice deep breath as we do. And I just want to allow you to just land into the here and now. And to do this very naturally and simply. Don't work at it. Body's already here. You're here. You have been practicing a little. So just land into perhaps how the body rests on the earth. It's really nice. Often I just sometimes put my hand on the floor and I just feel the earth. Just let yourself be held completely right now. Yeah. Feel the support of everybody here. It's so nice to be practicing and to befriending anxiety together. We're not alone. Feel the shared bodies here, even online. All of you, we're all here together. It really feels good to be in good company, right? And see if you can this is a beautiful, mindful, just invitation. Notice for yourself right now, just for the first minute or two to settle, what anchor in the body just feels like the most simple, supportive anchor for you. It might be the breath. Maybe it's, as I was saying, maybe it's the hands. The hands can be very calm. I really want you to choose for yourself. Or maybe it's the sound, just the surround sound of this moment. Perhaps relative stillness. And I'm going to take, just to give you a heads up, this is about a 30-minute practice. So just giving your psyche a heads up around this. Yeah. It's going to be like a 30 to I'll take our time with this and just rest in the experience. And once again, I invite you to leave all judgment, resistance at the door. Just drop it like stones. Just put them down, and just let this unfold as it will. So, in order to befriend the pattern and the anxiety, once again, we do want to invite it in a bit. And so, once again, just allow yourself to consider a situation that does really trigger some anxiety for you, and just bring it to mind in your awareness, placing yourself there just a bit. You can titrate how much of that you feel. You can just put a toe in of whatever the situation may be. But I want to give you a minute just to bring in a situation that does bring on some anxiety for you. And see if you can, as we're learning to do, allow it to be there when it shows up. Perhaps it's misunderstood. So notice, and you might just in that rain kind of way, you can just acknowledge anxiety. You can acknowledge it and note it. And what we want to do is we want to feel it where it's in the body, as we did in rain. So it's similar. It has a somatic component, this practice. So drop in and see where it lives in the body. Just see where it lives, feel and open to it where it lives. Where does it live in the body? Get curious about that and drop into the sensations wherever you feel it in the body. And if you like, just to get more curious, is there a temperature to the sensations? Get real curious, get to know it. Is it any particular kinds of sensations? Is there a texture to it? And allow the sensations in the body, wherever you feel it, just letting it be there. Does it have a color? So allow it to start to kind of take a kind of shape or color. And see, just allowing this to naturally kind of unfold. Allow the anxiety, how it feels, how it takes life in the body. Allow it to perhaps take on a kind of form. How does it show up as a form? Perhaps it's a figure in some way. And just let yourself observe it a little bit. Let it take shape as if it's right in the room. What size is it? Does it have a color? A gender? Maybe it doesn't take like a form, but it just has a kind of energy to it. However it wants to show up, I'm inviting you to allow it to be that way. And if it does take form, I want you to become curious about it. Does it have an emotional state? What's its character like? Is it hostile? Is it sad? Is it strong? Is it weak? Does it have a face? If it has a face, get curious about its expression. Now, if it shows up in a form that it feels a kind of scary for you, you have agency to place it at a distance or to place yourself at a distance energetically as you get to know it. Really staying in touch with it, though, so that you can really get to know it, perhaps engage with it a bit at a safe distance. So give yourself whatever you need energetically to interact with it, get to know it safely. And you're kind of just tracking this energetically. Now, staying with the form as the anxiety, it's taking a form, it's there. Perhaps you're able to kind of look at it, relate to it, hopefully safely. And at this point, we're going to invite you to ask it some questions. And the first question is, what is your function? Why are you here? And see what it says. The next question that you can ask if you like, and these are all within choice for you, but if it feels right to inquire, you can ask, what do you need? What is it that you want? And see what it says or does. Also, listen to the tone of its voice if it's speaking. So, what does it need? And as you listen to it, as you inquire, as you turn towards it, notice if there's any shifts in it. This is something that energetically you're tracking. Does it like that you're listening to it? Does it like the attention? Does it calm down when you turn towards it and listen to it? Just maybe, maybe not. Just stay with it and stay really present with it if you can. There's another element as you ask it what it needs, its function. You can also notice if there's any feeling of maybe some compassion for it. Maybe not, but see if that is there. Maybe it's been working very hard. Maybe it's exhausted. The last inquiry for this, if you feel like you'd like to, is to ask it, how will you feel or change when you get what you need? If you get what you want or need, how will you feel? And just see what it says. So take all of this in, stay with it. You might thank it for showing up. And the next step, and this is really, you have choice. You don't have to do any of this unless it feels like it would be helpful. But the next step is to really trade places with it, to actually enter into its skin and to feel into its experience. Notice how it feels to be in its body, to look out of its eyes, and take a moment to become it. What is that like? You can look back at yourself through the eyes of this form. How do you look to yourself from this perspective? And just allow any insights to unfold. How, when you look back at yourself, how do you relate to this anxiety? How do you relate to it? And what is it like for the anxiety to be related to that way? So let yourself notice this a little bit. Now, staying in the body, the form of the anxiety as it's taken form, as you kind of feel it, you can ask yourself these questions. What I need is, what I want is this. So feel it being in its skin. This is what I want and need. What is my role here? What am I trying to do? It might also be helpful sitting in its skin this way to inquire, am I really helping in any way? And last, when I do get what I need, I will feel like, and you can just see, how will I feel if I get what I need? So you can stay, if it feels useful to stay in the skin of this form, that is the anxiety as it's how it's showing up. You can stay there if it feels important to you. But if you like, you can return to yourself. Now, as you settle back into yourself, looking and turning towards the anxiety, still there. Notice how it's looking at you. What's its expression like? Is there any shift or changes? Get curious. Now, only if it feels appropriate, if you'd like to, you can really you can tell the anxiety, thank you. If it feels appropriate. If it doesn't, do not. But if it feels like you really want to thank it for trying to do whatever it's trying to do, take a moment to really let it know that you understand that it's trying and let it really hear you say it. And notice how, if there's any shift there with the form, with the anxiety, if it appreciates that or not, just however this unfolds, very energetic. And then if you like, you can ask it to, you can say, you can offer to give it a bit of a break. You might let it know that you want to thank it for helping, but that it's really been hurting you. Let it know that you're not sure if it's been so helpful. And see how it reacts to you. You might feel some mutual care or compassion. And if it became clear to you in any way that what it needed, see what it's like to give it what it needs. It might need um, some cooperation. You might want to give it an object that represents what it needs. You might offer it some words or just kind of sit a little closer to it. And this is an opportunity for some negotiation. So that this part can be of more service to you. I want to offer a little bit of space for you to say whatever you want to say to it and see if it really wait and see if it's listening and really just giving you some space to really have a discussion, an open, honest discussion. A kind of truce. Maybe it needs a new role that you can offer it that's more adaptive and helpful to you. And then this is really coming from the Tibetan style. So I'll offer this. If it doesn't feel right, don't worry about it. But I'll offer it because if there is in this relational field that perhaps has been created through this process, if there's some feeling of positive regard or compassion, understanding for this part, this anxiety, you can allow from your heart a kind of compassionate nectar to really feed this part. Perhaps it's a particular color that just starts to flow to this part, to this anxiety that needs a lot of compassion and support and understanding, and just let it flow from your heart, just feeding this part, this nectar of caring. It might even be all that the anxiety needs, when it expressed what it needed or wanted, that can flow from your heart directly into the body of the demon, of the anxiety. Let it flow into this being until it is completely satisfied. Let it have all that it needs. You can really feel into the texture and the color of the nectar as it flows from your heart center. And notice how the anxious part, notice how it takes it in. Does it want it? Does it like it? This is really something that will organically play out in your direct experience. So just trusting whatever needs to happen, let that happen. And do really notice if there's any shift or change in that part. Does it change its form? As it gets what it needs, as you give it some appreciation, if it felt right to do so, does it shift into something else? And this last step of this practice is to notice if the if the shape if the part shifts into an ally, if it becomes a really important part of what's going to help you. Allow it to shapeshift into an ally if it wants to. Allow it to become what it wants to for you. And if it doesn't, it can stay as it is, and you can invite the ally to appear. This is a presence that is 100% there for you and will always be there for you and knows exactly what you need. This is an ally internally that offers all that is needed, that knows you by heart, and offers an unconditional field of love. Allow this to appear perhaps in any way. And take a moment to take in all aspects of this ally. Maybe it's in relationship to the anxiety, and it's protective, it helps, it steps in, it does a better job. It's offering you what you really need most. What's its color? What's it look like? What's it feel like to be in its presence? This is an ally. This really allows you to heal this pattern so that you may be free, even amidst life's inevitable ups and downs and pains and challenges. As you perhaps welcome the ally in any way, however it emerges, in relationship to the anxiety or in place of it, you can inquire, how can you best help me? So once again, this is a relational field. How can you best help me? And just listen. How can you best protect me? How can I access you when I need you? Once again, this is a choice, but if you feel like you'd like to, you can, as you did with the anxious part, you can really become the ally and step into its form. Feeling the qualities as your own. How it feels to look at yourself, back at yourself through its eyes. So just for these last few minutes of this practice, you can just stay in that experience of being the ally, or you can return to yourself. And just depending on how this unfolded, just letting it all be as it is. Perhaps the anxious part is still there, perhaps not. Really trying to make a lot of space for how this may unfold organically within your own being. And just notice any shifts or changes in any of these parts as they come together. In awareness. And if the ally, if it is online, on board in your energetic field, allow it to offer you anything that it wants you to have. And perhaps it starts to just feed you this nectar of deep compassion, radiating, if you like, into your being all the safety and love and care that you need. Feel it through all parts of your body, just drinking in the nectar from this ally, nectar of support, compassion, true allyship. That it's here for you. And the last step is just to rest now in this experience, allowing it to integrate in any way that it wants to for your highest, best healing. You can just, once again, release all of the imagery and rest in your experience in the room. But see if you notice and feel any differences in the body, in the system. Perhaps there were some shifts of healing. More insight and understanding what is deeply needed for all parts of this pattern. So taking a few deep breaths and giving yourself a lot of credit no matter what unfolded in that practice. Giving yourself a lot of credit for taking the time to really inquire into what might be really going on in your in your psyche and your being. And feel free to maybe take a nice stretch when you're ready, and you can open your eyes. And what I'd like to do, because this is kind of a nice way to kind of titrate the experience, is if you feel like coming out of that, you kind of just want to take a walk, you can and come back. But if you feel comfortable, I think it's really nice kind of just to move into groups of two and just to each person to share just a little bit